seems like when we lace up our shoes every morning to go for a run, we're not lacing up in spite of the pain that we feel on runs, but it's almost because of it. Most of us didn't start running because we wanted the discomfort and the pain that comes from running. It was probably more about the allure of health and progress and growth and maybe even weight loss, or whatever came with running. There was something that brought you to the sport, and it likely wasn't that pain. But growth eventually plateaus and progress eventually levels off, and all you're left with is the discomfort of running. And yet, we keep running. I started thinking about this last week because I showed up to my daughter's soccer practice about 20 minutes early, and it was super hot. Like, I was sweating just sitting there. And this park she was playing at, it was surrounded by these really tall grassy hills. And all I could think about was this overwhelming feeling I had to go do hill repeats on these hills. Like that's all I could think about. I was just looking at those hills. And if I wasn't in, work clothes, like jeans and if I was in running clothes, I probably would have gone and done hill repeats. But I didn't need to. I'm not training for anything right now. I have nothing that I need to do hill repeats for. And I had already gone for a run that day. I just wanted to sweat. I wanted to feel the burn in my legs and the burn in my lungs. I just wanted to hurt. And this isn't the first time I've thought about this, but I started to think about why the discomfort of running is so welcoming. Is it discipline or devotion? Or are we just masochistic and this is some socially acceptable form of self-harm? And the more I thought about this, the more I realized that, at least for me personally, on a deep level, I am using running as a coping mechanism. Because all day I deal with the mental stress of work and the emotional stress of family life, and it can get extremely overwhelming at times. And I think for me, part of the reason why I crave the physical discomfort or the physical pain of running is because it allows me to narrow my focus, because it alleviates the mental and emotional load of everything else, and it allows me to process all of the other problems and all of the other stress that I have in my life. And so I've started to ask myself, is this about control then? Am I running because I want to be in control? Is it more about controlling the kind of pain that you feel? Like, am I actively choosing the physical discomfort of running because I don't want to just be passively being forced to feel the discomfort of the emotional stress and mental stress of everyday life? Because in my mind and from my experience, the physical pain of running, it silences the noise. It clarifies things and it simplifies life. At this point in my thought process around this desire for discomfort, I started to see parallels between my desire to run and that discomfort and self-harm. And I am not saying that running and self-harm are the same thing. But what I am trying to do is understand the desire for discomfort. And I wonder what would have happened if the people who feel overwhelmed in life were handed a pair of running shoes rather than drugs or alcohol or pills or something worse. I don't think I'm far off here, because studies have shown that endurance athletes also show increased amounts of obsessive compulsive disorders and addictions and anxiety. And so when I see the homeless camps, I often feel extremely deeply for these people, because honestly, the difference between me and them is that I bought my first pair of running shoes. Listen, I know this is an extreme exaggeration and a massive oversimplification. Addiction and homelessness is not the same thing as athleticism, as endurance sports. But I think that these two ways of life rhyme in a deeper way than we care to admit. So I stand by what I said, and I think my point is still valid. Maybe the person shooting heroin on the side of the road and the person doing hill repeats in the heat are seeking the same kind of control or clarity or escape. They're just doing it through vastly different means with vastly different social consequences. Now, I hope I didn't lose too many of you on that, because I'm not saying that that's exactly why everyone craves the discomfort of running. That's not what I'm saying. I'm mostly just thinking out loud here. And so now I want to zoom out a little bit, because all of the philosophical and religious and psychological traditions and practices, they all had something similar to say about this. They all thought that through voluntary discomfort or voluntary suffering, meaning emerges from that. Let me explain. So the first tradition that comes to mind is Christianity. Self-sacrifice is a central theme in Christianity. Christian theology emphasizes self-sacrifice and voluntary suffering as a pathway to spiritual growth, because it's modeled after the life and the suffering of Christ. Many Hindu traditions are similar to Christianity in that they also see suffering as a path to self-realization and spiritual growth. Stoicism, on the other hand, sees suffering not so much as a pathway, but they focus on the reaction or the response that we have to suffering, in their whole mantra of amor fati, or love what is. It's about responding to things that you cannot control with acceptance and using challenges as opportunities for virtue and growth. Shifting to more modern times, psychologists have a concept called the affect heuristic, which applied to what we're talking about today, which is pain and discomfort and voluntary suffering. The affect heuristic would be that the way that we process pain is determined almost exclusively by the story that we tell ourselves about it. So if we see pain as something necessary for growth, then we will see growth and we will experience suffering in a positive way. And so psychologists will tell you that the story that we tell ourselves about the pain and discomfort we experience determines how we feel about it and whether or not we will experience the growth. Neurological research shows that repeated exposure to discomfort or pain allows endurance athletes to build up a pain tolerance. And this pain tolerance translates over not from just physical pain, but to mental and emotional pain. And so it gives you the tolerance you need in order to face discomfort head on instead of running from it. So looking at all of that, maybe we're drawn to the discomfort of running because it serves as a ritual for transformation. Whether it's a monk meditating or a stoic fasting or a runner doing hill repeats, all of them point to this, that chosen suffering is a means of transformation. In other words, I guess you could say that running secularizes this idea of self-sacrifice and puts it into practice in a way to achieve resilience in a controlled environment that then prepares us for life's uncontrolled challenges. And so I think as endurance runners, we have come to love or maybe just appreciate pain because we know that that's where growth happens. It is where clarity comes. It's in the discomfort, it's paradoxically where we feel most at peace. I think I can speak for runners everywhere when I say that running makes me feel alive. But all of this still continues to leave me with more questions, like, has pain become our ritual? Has it become our religion? Is the discomfort how we make sense of ourselves in a world that feels senseless? Some might call this masochism, but is it really about loving pain? Obviously, everyone's different, and I can't speak for everyone, but as a whole, I don't think that we as runners crave pain. I think we have learned to be comfortable being uncomfortable. We are comfortable in the physical pain of running, and we crave what comes with that discomfort. And so when I was sitting at soccer practice, waiting for my daughter to finish, and I was craving hill repeats in the midday sun, I don't think I was necessarily craving the pain. What I think I was craving was what the discomfort brings. I was craving the clarity and the chosen chaos of running rather than the unchosen chaos of work that day. And I think all of this can serve us well, as long as we are aware of the way that we are using the tool of running, whether that's for transformation or for coping. And so I don't necessarily think that we crave pain, we crave transformation, and we crave peace. And pain is the price of entry. I don't know. As always, I am not an expert in any of this. This is me just thinking out loud and exploring a topic that I found interesting. So if this was also interesting to you, or if you have thoughts on this, I'd love to hear it in the comments. And if you thought it was interesting or thought-provoking, I hope you'll stick around at least, and I'll catch you in the next video. All right, gear for today, we've got the Topo Mountain Racer 4s. I'm still working on getting that review out. I'll get it out soon. Stance running socks. These shorts are from 10,000. Shirt is from Lululemon. Patagonia running hat. And then I got the Apple Watch Ultra with my Pride Month watch band. If you have any questions on the gear, let me know.